Board in the lecture mode.
All participants are muted. The recording has started.
This is Toasted with Revolution News and Information. It is 5/1/2017. Technically, it is May Day. So, this is the disclaimers with Dave and Ed Johnston. Please enjoy the show. I'm going to pass the floor right on over.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the
joining
show.
us. We appreciate
Ed normally starts it, but he's trying to get his board up and running, so I will.
I was on, ain't I on?
You're on. I can hear you.
Okay, good. Anyhow, Dave and I would like to thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. We look forward to some new education tonight. Hopefully we have a couple guests going to be showing up tonight, but that's going to be in time. We'll find out. Anyhow, we would like to start off by saying it's a good day to start the spring, I guess, as some might call it. You know, so we got to look at what's coming down the future here, how we're going to be educating ourselves to protect the bloodline and the children of this country. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave for a minute while I get caught up here. And so the floor is yours, Dave.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the phone call. A little different things are happening tonight. We've had some cases that went very well for us and others, and we're proud of what they accomplished. So we're going to hopefully have them on the show tonight to explain that situation to you. It's really nice to know that people appreciate your work and your efforts to help them out, and that's in Ed and I's line of work. That's an accomplishment. So we have several new guests on tonight, which welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy the call tonight. And some people call it a show, but we call it a call. So we're not. We live broadcast this on a replay on YouTube. Usually about 4 hours after the show's done. So with that in mind, Toasted will give you the login on that. We have a lady that hopefully will be on tonight that is having some trouble with her Social Security. This is a sad situation. A 77-year-old lady having problems like this. I want to give out a call number for Freedom Law School. For those of you who would like some lawful advice and don't know where to turn, this is a very good school. They have offices in Florida and California. Their phone number, if you'd like to write it down, is 813-444-4800. Again, that's 818-444-4800. Piedmont, who is the president of the school out there in California, he and I met at the hearing on taxation in Washington, D.C. with Bob Schultz and Larry Beecraft, Joe Bannister, D.V. Kidd. Some of you recognize these names, some of you don't. But a fabulous group of individuals. A lot of them are former IRS agents who will tell you the shenanigans that the IRS play on you. So they are a tribute. None of them work for the IRS anymore when they found out the con job they were putting out. So once they quit, then the IRS came after them. So you have to understand how crooked the courts are in the United States, and then you'll understand how their lives got really messed up as a result of that. But anyway, we're glad for Freedom Law School. They have I think, $350,000 award out for anyone who can prove there's a law that requires you to pay an income tax. You can go on their website, Freedom Law School, and read all about that one. Nobody has ever won that prize. So that tells you a lot about our income tax laws. Some of you have had trouble with collection agencies recently. So I did some research on that. 15 U.S. Code deals with communication in connection with debt collectors. Section 1692C and 1692E. Let me turn the page here. Deal with false and misleading representation of a debt collector. I don't know of anybody who would fall into that category except for the IRS. Let's see, aiding and abetting would fall under Social Security, Department of Justice. Let's see. Financial management services, even goes as high as the office of the President of the United States. I find it interesting that high-ranking, quote, government, quote, officials, supposedly, quote, learned in law, can ignore 60 rulings of the United States Supreme Court relating to income taxes. One of the main ones, that Congress, by legislation, cannot define income since it cannot alter the Constitution from which it derives its power to legislate. Now, if Congress can't define income, quote, and we don't have the lawful definition of income found in the IRS code, how can we pay an income tax? Because wage for labor is an exchange, no income is generated. Ruling of the Supreme Court. So how do you pay wage for labor as income? What genius turned that one around? So things to think about as you're getting your 1040X forms ready to refile and get all your money back. Just remember that tax fraud in America has all of these key case listings on the website. So if you are in doubt of any need of protecting yourself against the mafia IRS, the IMF, it's a division of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, there's a place to go to get your information. I got a call from Freedom Law School today. They have a show that they do every Thursday night, and they've asked me to come on the show. So anybody else who is available Thursday night, you want to call Freedom School and get the call-in number. I wrote it down, and then I turned around and misplaced the envelope I wrote it on. I don't quite understand how I would ever write on the back of an envelope, but I seem to do it a lot. But anyway, so if you have any questions as to if you need an attorney or lawful advice, whatever, give them a call Thursday night. I think the call starts at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, if I remember right. And these people are very, very good at what they do. And so they have new attorneys who are graduating, and they get them out in the general public this way. So give them a helping hand. Let's see what develops. Let's see, Social Security, I got asked today, can Social Security actually tax, or lien, I should say, your Social Security? They can only if you owe money to a government entity. Now, I've got a question on that, because if that's what they're stating, only if you owe it to a government entity. Well, we know for certain that the IRS is not a government entity. It's a division of the IMF. They're unregistered foreign agents. And Social Security, that is a foreign agent, an unregistered foreign agent, because Bill Clinton gave Social Security over to the Crown when he was president.
March 3rd, 1997.
So that makes the IRS and Social Security and the IMF co-conspirators to tax fraud, Social Security fraud. In fact, the Queen, as the Pope is the treasurer for the Crown, that makes them a RICO outfit, organized crime, because they don't want to obey the laws of the United States of America and our rulings of the Supreme Court of the United States. So, not that I'm ripping and roaring on the establishment, but somebody has to point it out to people that they're crooks, and that's all you can say about them. So, Edward, would you have anything you would like to add at this point?
Hang on a minute. Go, May. I will in a minute, as soon as my computer catches up here.
You still having computer problems?
Yeah, I still have computer problems. It started again before I got on. But anyhow, the one thing, too, that when we get into this stuff with the IRS and the IMF, is that you folks need to realize that they are a company from British England. Just like the Bible and the Crown is from England through the Vatican. They are not part of the United States. We the people, they're a foreign corporation.
And if you go into Dun & Bradstreet, Wall Street, you'll find them traded in the state of Delaware, divisions of corporations, as a private corporation. Who recently, I understand, again, for the second time, lost their corporate status in the state of Delaware for, what was that? Not paying their corporate taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing? The IRS wants you to pay taxes, but they don't pay their corporate taxes.
Well, they have $9 trillion missing from their budget.
Well, certainly.
You know, and that was testified in the House and Senate hearings. You can type that in on YouTube. 9 trillion missing, and you could even type in the IRS director says taxes are voluntary. Now you'll watch the House and Senate members say, "Oh, we pay our taxes." Well, by the IRS Bankruptcy Act, March 9th, 1933, clearly states that all elected and public servants, registered church members, registered voters, and immigration have to pay taxes. We even have the laws that I've put up in our writings that clearly states it. Okay, and that's the whole point. Lawful bloodline Americans, and that includes all of us, and including what they call Indians, are exempt. And how come people do not realize this fact? And when you do a 1040 form, you always exempt. And then when it says...
And also we need to pick up a 515 form from the IRS. Have to call them and ask them for the 515 form that exempts you from taxes.
Yeah, and that includes property taxes. And as soon as we get a copy, we're going to be getting it up and passed out. We'll have templates on it, too.
Yes, we definitely will post that to the websites.
Definitely, because I'm waiting to get it, because I've got to get the rest of the stuff on my land straightened out, because I'm fighting with them right now on different things. And Somebody was asking me earlier, where do you get this where you don't have to pay property taxes? Well, number one, I have filed it in the Oregon State House and Senate, filed it with the Treasury, the State Attorney General, everybody on everybody who's concerned. I even have senators and House of Representatives admitting in 2015 that all property taxes are voluntary, and everybody knows it, as Representative Greenlink would say. Like I said on the record, not everybody does know it, and we have a right to know it, so how come we don't know it? Well, if you knew it, they couldn't rape, rob, and pillage us the way they do. They couldn't steal your land from you, out from underneath you.
Well, it's the same way with driver's license plates, registration fees, and all that. You have the right to travel by the Supreme Court of the United States. You do not need any of those things to drive your vehicle on the highway.
Not only that, when you get these people going, well, that doesn't apply. Yes, it does. It's your responsibility to learn the statute codes and administration rules and the law. Constitution is the law. The rest of it is statute codes and administrative rules. And if you are not a member of that corporation, then you're not a member to be obligated.
And the thing I really get upset with people is, well, you have the state Supreme Court. They're the supreme law. No. You can appeal a ruling of the Supreme Court of a state. You cannot appeal a ruling of the United States Supreme Court. And those are the laws we concern ourselves about in everything. But then we have the monkeys from the IRS and the IMF and Social Security and the rest of the jerks from overseas who don't seem to think they have to honor our Supreme Court rulings. And I don't care if I call them jerks, because they need to be called jerks. Maybe they'll wake up. Everybody's quiet on that one.
Well, they're all pretty quiet on this stuff.
So, do you want to introduce our guest tonight or anything?
I don't know if he's here or not. Let me go look at the board, seeing that I'm finally back on.
All righty.
Okay. And I don't see him on here. DL doesn't look like he's on here, and I don't know where he is. He's not on Facebook. I did get a hold of him earlier, and last I knew he did know that we were going to be here.
So Harris isn't here and Mike isn't here.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't hear Mike on. Mike, you're not there, are you? No, I don't see his number in the bay.
Okay.
So, I guess that's where we're at right now at this point.
Okay. I have a lady by the name of Doris. Is a senior citizen who's having some problems with her.
Does she join us? I'll go ahead and unmute these other two to figure out who they are. I think that was the one, that Dave, you're still here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and this other's number 77. Who's that one?
Oh, this is Ted Robinson out of Chicago.
Oh, okay, gotcha. How you doing, guy? Okay, so no, DL hasn't joined us, and I don't see Mike yet on the board. So
open it up Q&A right now, and
well, we might as well open it up for a session right now, because I know we got a couple that probably would like to speak, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute the board. Okay. And so then that way everybody could have a chance to speak here. First, I would actually like to turn the floor over to somebody you personally know and see how he's going along with his structure out there.
Okay.
So you know who that would be.
Well, I have a couple of friends, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Well, the only one I see on here beside you is your brother.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
So, Gerard, I was open up the floor on anything that you might want to bring up or something.
Yeah, I had an interesting one. I sent a check to my high school reunion. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. And the bank refused to cash it. I had all that stuff put on there by the HJR, and the bank refused to cash it.
I got a call from the Alumni Association president. Said, I got a check here from your brother, and the bank refuses to cash it. And so I asked Connie, I said, well, what do you know about Public Law 10, Chapter 48, Stat 112? She says, what in the world are you talking about? I said, I thought you grew up during the Great Depression. She said, I never heard of that.
I know, so, you elders.
We're talking a lady who's what? She's probably close to 80, right, Carol?
Who was that, David? Was she my phone?
About close to 80.
Probably pretty close to it.
Yeah. So she grew up during a Great Depression. My sister did too. In fact, my sister's 83. So I asked my sister what she knew about it. She said, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. So here's two people who grew up during the Great Depression and aren't familiar with the fact that the bankruptcy took away all our lawful money and that Congress had to give us a way to pay our bills, and bingo, they forgot to tell us. So they instigated the largest counterfeiting ring ever established, and then they make it lawful money backed by absolutely nothing of value. Boy.
No, they backed it up with our birth certificates.
That's not lawful currency. That's not gold and silver.
Well, that considers on what you figure you're sitting on.
Don't you comprehend the
value you didn't comprehend what I said, did you?
A piece of butt and a piece of gold.
You didn't comprehend what I said to you, did you?
Yes, I did. That's the reason why I brought my point up.
Well, I mean, that was pretty lame.
Hey, I'm sorry, but you know, what they did, the corporation. You see, our Constitution. Let's go back and get this straightened out here real quick. Our Constitution established the Republic. And in that Constitution, we the people are the government, first branch of government are we the people. And in that Constitution, we established legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government. And none of those are live entities or workable until you either elect, hire, or appoint someone to the office. So then they formed a corporation, United States of America Corporation, and then they made all these birth certificates to back up the gold and silver that they hijacked and turned over to the Crown during the Bankruptcy Act. So they had to give a way for the, quote, people to pay their bills because there wasn't any lawful money. So they created a insurance scheme called a bond, and what was it? They put a $630,000 bond on the certificate of live birth, and then they put a $1.2 million bond on your birth certificate. So how does a non-living entity create a certificate of live birth as a commodity, because that's what they turned it into, was a commodity. They traded it on the commodities exchange on those on those bonds, that's really a sweet swindle. You talk about a Ponzi scheme. Holy cow. That's what happened to us, people.
Mm-hmm.
We've been duped, to say the least. And we still don't know to this day who it was that formed the United States of America as a federal corporation. Congress, I've written Congress 3 letters, haven't had a response from them. I wrote to Donald, haven't had a response from him. In fact, all the stuff I send to Donald, I don't seem to be getting any communication from his side, other than, oh, we received your email, but we're busy.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that so many times, I don't know what to do with it. Well, this brings us right up to the HJR 192, the Bankruptcy Act, and the Congress making man an animal under Title VII. So, really interesting. They Congress declared your county coroner, when he gets the birth certificate back from the state, he declares your certificate of live birth dead. And then Congress, later on, after they get the bonds, they declared the citizen dead. So now you have 2 dead entities that they created so they can steal the bond money and put it in as backing for the Federal Reserve note. So my question is, how do dead entities work? If you're dead, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, and isn't it funny that whenever you put your signature on something, you create debt? So how can a dead entity be dead and sign something? So your birth certificate brings you into the Admiralty law of the sea, as you're tied to a berth as a ship. When you sail, you come into port, you are berthed. So your birth certificate, what is your date of birth? That means they want to know what day did you get docked at the port, where they can swindle you. Instead of the what day were you born, as the Christ was born of the Virgin Mary, quote, where's the blood flow in the charter, bond, all the fraud scheme they're running? See, people never ask these questions. They just assume you know it. But until somebody actually brings it out for you, that's why your name in all caps letters is identity theft. That's your corporation, straw man, and trade name account.
And you should file to own it.
Yeah, we're trying to do that, Ed.
Well, I know others are, but you know, I've already done mine. I own me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to get someone to admit that, oh, this is what you do to do that. I want them to tell me what it is. Not that I don't already know, because I've already taken that step. But I want someone in the, quote, federal government to tell me how we do that, since the corporation was never given any authority to borrow money using our names, good faith, and credit. So all the national debt is money they owe us, not we owe them.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. GDP.
Pay up. I'm ready to receive my dividend check. So, I mean, how much straight talk do you have to explain it to the, what is that, the Office of Budget Management? Send us the forms. there's how many million Americans out here entitled money? Send us a form. You have our addresses. You can't say you don't. You do.
It'll never happen.
You know. Anyhow, do we have somebody else that was trying to speak up there? Because I was trying to hear the rest of Gerald's, what he was doing with that. Yeah, that's what I did, but I wanted...
All participants are unmuted.
Okay, I got that.
Do you want to finish up your thing on what you did for Connie? Hello?
No, what happened to Gerald? Did he hang up?
No, I didn't. I'm here.
Oh, okay, you're...
Say, finish what
Gotcha.
you did for Connie on the check.
Yeah, I haven't heard another word from him.
So where are you now with it?
Right?
As I said, I haven't heard another word from him. They called me that phone.
From him?
Nope, haven't heard another word from him.
Okay. Because I called Gene, who's the president of the reunion this year, and told him about all this stuff, and he was going to look into it. So anyway.
Well, I'm going to mute some people so I know where the background is coming in from. Okay, we have a 9-3 number. Is that...
Hey,
Go ahead real quick, because I'm trying to figure out who's here. Go ahead.
all right, a couple quick questions. First of all, do you know if anybody has ever tried to go after their deceased parents' taxes that were ever paid?
No, is this
right now
number?
Say again?
Are your first two numbers 9-3?
Yeah, 931-216. Yeah.
Okay, this.
Okay, there was a couple other questions I had real quick, if you don't mind. I was born on a military base overseas. When my father acquired his, you are invited to participate in a certain military action. How does that affect, if any way, my status of not being born on the 48?
It's simple. Were your parents 4 or more generations?
They were both Americans, yes, sir.
So you are an honorary American, not citizen, American.
Okay.
So that means you have rights, not privileges. If your parents were not 4 or more generations, you are a citizen. Sounds like you're an American.
Yeah, both of my parents go back good 100 years plus.
Okay, but see, you want to file that to claim your status.
Okay.
Once you do that, then you are a bloodline American. And you, by law, are not required to pay taxes. That's why you need that Form 515 from the IRS.
But you've never heard of anybody going after their parents?
No, not yet. We know that Dave is going after his former wives on that.
Okay.
And they've been running
the bonds that my wife had.
Go ahead, Dave.
When my wife passed away, you have a month to file for your bonds for your wife to claim the value. Now, I've written letters to all my members of the Congress ignored on that issue. And I've even written to a board in Chicago on that issue to be ignored. Now, the lawful thing for Congress to do when you're dealing with such a situation as this is to correspond with you to give you the proper amount of information. But they they never did. So this is what you call breach of public trust, honest service fraud, obstruction. So I now have criminal charges I can file on my three stooges, congressman, senator and congressman, to get the situation taken care of. So if that helps you any or not, I don't know, but that's what I did to gain my right to the bonds that are in her name.
And one other question. Since all you folks are doing such a wonderful job of spreading the gospel, has anybody ever thought to just actually create a school from scratch and bring in several different speakers to discuss some of these things? It would be a way of generating revenue and helping to create opportunities.
Well, I don't think Ed and I really want to start a school. We are mainly here to educate people as to the error of the way and see if they'll make amends, correct it, and do the right thing. So, you know, they wrote this stuff, the law, statute, codification, and all the stuff. So they can't really blame us accountable for exposing what they're doing. It's my duty as a bloodline American to make sure the government's being ran the way I expect it to be ran, along with Ed and others, everybody that lives on this in this republic. It's your job, your civic duty, to make sure the government is ran the way you expect it to be ran, and that's in accordance with the Constitution, which is their administrative rules. So if they don't want to do that, then then there's treason charges and other things we can do to make sure we rid the republic of these enemies of the state. That's what they become, is enemies of the state when they don't obey the law.
One other thing came to mind that I wanted to ask real quick. When you all are filing suits and stuff like that, how much to get the bond? I guess you have to have a bond in order to file a suit. Am I correct in that?
Nope, you do not. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that you are entitled to free access to the courts. You don't need to pay fees. Don't need to pay filing fees. You don't need to pay all the other stuff that they ask you to pay because that's supposed to be free to you since you are a bloodline American.
Okay, so get the status corrected first then?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Status.
I think we've got that on the website, don't we, Ed?
I think so, too. I have to double check.
I think it's, if you go to Tax Fraud in America, I think you'll find, if you scroll up and down on that, when you get into Tax Fraud in America, you want to click on the little white flag in there. It's a little circle with a white flag on it. You want to click on that to make sure you get into the right website, because there is a fake one out there.
You're on Facebook. You're not the website.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, all my stuff's on Facebook.
Okay, on Facebook.
How
do we find it on Facebook?
Tax Fraud in America.
Okay, cool. All right.
And from there you'll see my name, Davidlee Buess, posted on several different things, and you'll see a family picture there. That is my website for Davidlee Buess. So you should be able to click on that, and then I think there's all of our other websites are keyed off of either Tax Fraud in America or my webpage. I forgot which one it is. But NewOregonTrackers.com is another Facebook. I know that one has all the links to our other web pages and information.
Well, could you repeat that again? You say New Oregon?
Yeah, NewOregonTrackers.com. Trackers.
Oh, Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay, Oregon Trackers. Okay.
.com.
Okay.
So you'll find a lot of stuff. I think on New Oregon Trackers we even have the letter of marque and reprisal on there.
That's on United States for America Republic Elected and Public Servants Oversights.
That'll be one of the links on your left-hand side of that web page.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
nope.
Okay. All right. Listen, I had a couple quick questions. This is Ted from Chicago. You were just talking about going after the bonds for your deceased parents, and I heard the other gentleman mention about the check you put HJR on. Could you elaborate on those two a little bit more?
We know that our bonds, we have two of them. When we're born, we are given a certificate of live birth bond, which Roosevelt instigated with a $630,000 value.
Okay.
When the doctor hospital, whichever it is, sends that down to the state Secretary of State's office of your state, divisions of vital statistics, they take that birth certificate and they make your birth certificate out of it. And they make several copies. They send the original back to the county coroner. They send the new certificate to the county coroner. They send a copy of the birth certificate to the county health department. Well, at that stage, the county coroner declares you dead on the certificate of live birth. Then they place that birth certificate in the records. Okay. Then they send a copy of the birth certificate to the the Commerce, the Department of Commerce, a copy to the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau then establishes the $1.2 million bond. They then trade that on the Commodities Exchange, and the Federal Reserve buys every one of them. And then they store them in a building called the Tower of Power in New York City, on River Street, across from the Federal Reserve Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
they're purgatory.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. So how do we go after getting these bonds and proving life?
Well, I come across a document today, and I haven't had a chance to investigate this out, but it's made out by the Secretary of Treasury, Department of Treasury, 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C., and it's in accordance with HJR 192, 5 June 1933, Chapter 48, Stat 112. Okay? And this is an unlimited this bond was created 6/20/2008, and it is let's see. It is a registered bond, and the registration number is listed below it, but I don't want to give that out until I can verify this instrument.
Okay.
If this is the real McCoy, this is where you would file, probably people who were born before 6/20/2008. This is probably your birth certificate bond that you would use. This is the instrument you would claim your bond against. Okay. So once we verify this, which should be sometime this week, I was hoping to get going here and get it done earlier today, but it asked me to check it out before we actually made it known on the air as far as the actual numbers. But it says certificate of live birth number, BC number, accepted for value and exempt from levy for deposit to the Department of Treasury for either credit to the straw man full name and SS number, which we all know that's a Social Security number. And I'm reading from this document, by the way, so you get an idea what this thing says. The undersigned man full name in red ink, principal, a living Christian, again, red ink, man / woman, in ream, natural, comma, herewith accepts for value the enclosed bond, certificate of live birth number, BC number, all endorsements front and back in accordance with public law found at Chapter 48 Stat 112, public policy found at House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5th, 1933. And the Uniform Commercial Code, the principal being the sole authorized acceptor of said bond, contributor of value thereof, and contributing beneficiary thereof. Bond order. Please deposit this bond to an account bearing the registration number, BC bond, registration mail number, for further identification purposes to be used for the set-off of any and all bills, taxes, liabilities, and claims against, and then we go back to the red ink, man first name, man middle name, man last name, as listed on the birth certificate of live birth, no BC number, or I guess that means number BC number, a.k.a. straw man full name, again in red ink, against the principal debtor, straw man full name in red ink, a.k.a. straw man ALT1, a.k.a. straw man AKL2, a.k.a. any and all similar alphanumerical derivatives of a Social Security number, file number, UCC number, UCC date, month, date, and year, UCC state, annex thereof, or 3, against any of the principals, variations, debtors, or beneficiaries, the same claim to be identified by the principal accepted for value of endorsement noted thereon. Please, 1, or either, adjust any and all bills, taxes, claims, and liabilities to 0, ending balance and ending balance favor to the principal. 2, charges, settles, or closes any such account. And 3, returns all interest to the principal via straw man's full name and SS number. Again, that's straw man full name, and SS is all caps letters and the Social Security number, in care of the above location, which is the state or the Treasury. Respondent shall have 3 days from the date of verified receipt of this bond to perform or dishonor this bond by returning it with all attachments to the principal at the above noted location by domestic post. Further to so return shall constitute, failure to so return shall constitute respondent's acceptance of and performance on all terms and provisions herein. Silence is acceptance now, or acquiescence. Now, let's understand, they gave you 3 days from the time you get it to get it back to them. So if you're on the West Coast, which takes, probably 5 days to get from there to Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that kind of a screw job?
Big time.
And they count on this, folks. They actually count on this happening.
This bond shall be posted as an asset to the beneficiary or benefit of the United States Department of the Treasury and shall expire upon the expiration of the principal. In other words, when you die, it's ours. But evidently, when they wrote this, they must figure things are pretty fast coming from California to Washington, or Alaska to Washington, or if you're out of country, tough.
Right.
This document is basically fraud and inducement because, number one, they don't give you a allotted period of time to which you can respond to it.
And remember, they do this, like I said, deliberately to us.
And this is how they steal your bonds.
You know, these guys are...
One way to get this bond would go to the Department of Treasury and say, I want this bond number, which once we find out this is real, we'll just give you this. The easiest way for you to get this, knowing that you're going to get $1 million, just minimum $1.8 million.
Right.
Would be hop a plane, go to Washington, D.C., and go to the Department of Treasury and say, here, I'm here to collect on this bond. You don't need to mail it to me. I'm here right now. I'll fill it out right now, and we'll get it done.
There you
go.
go.
We'll put it to them.
Oh, definitely. Now, you said about your status. Could you be a little more definitive? I heard someone say you have to claim your straw man.
Hey, Ed, this is Paul. I interject?
Hey, and one at a time, please. You wait until the speaker is done speaking. And 5-0, I'm still going to mute you because you got a lot.
I agree with you. I couldn't hear him.
Huh?
Why don't you go ahead and answer these questions since you're right there on the board? Go ahead and ask your question again, sir.
Yeah, ask it.
Yeah, okay. I just want to know. This is Ronald, Ed. I just wanted to know if you knew about Senate Bill 719A that they're trying to pass here in the Oregon Senate today at 11:30 that wipes out all the so-called homeless people or anybody that makes a call that says it looks like you're an incorrigible or threatening yourself or somebody else. Are you aware of the bill that's going to pass today? Thank you. I'm out. He's trying to finish up on the bond. Let's let him finish up first before we get into this other.
No, you finish up, and then I'll get into the Senate bill that Ron was asking about, so I clarify this. But you finish up before you were interrupted.
Okay, what was the question on that bond again, the rest of it? Are you still
the question,
here, sir?
Yes, I'm still here. This is Ted. I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
You were saying that the way this bond was structured, I'm saying what do you have to do besides the steps of them taking notes as you're talking? What else do you have to do to go collect on this bond? Now, I heard the gentleman earlier mention status. Claiming the straw man, is that part of the steps to get the bond? Or?
Yeah, the Sesta QV account, which this comes from, which is your bonds, okay, your birth bonds. That's called the Sesta QV trust account. Okay, so when we can get this bond number for you, and I'm sure there's more of these out there beside this one for 2008. Once we get this information, then verify it that it's for real, because I will be putting this on the Treasury's webpage tonight, verify that this is for real. So, and once we get that information, then we'll go ahead and stick it out on our, we'll let people know from our show what the process is and all that to get it, to claim it. So I hope that answers it. What I did was I filed a notice to call these bonds in the probate court in Hancock County, Ohio. I had a hearing on it, but we've never had a resolution to it. So I'm still waiting for the Department of Treasury to respond to my letter and notice of that hearing. And so far they haven't done it, but we were in the transition period of Obama to Trump, and there was a change of the secretary. So I don't know if it got buried in the shuffle or it got thrown in a wastebasket, but I'm going to, since it's been more than 40 days, I'll resend it to the secretary for his dealing with it. So once that's all done, I'll have more information to put out on the show.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'll try not to keep you waiting real long. In fact, usually Ed and I post stuff daily to our websites, and once we get it, we'll put it up right away so people can start looking at it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay. Now, Ron, what was your question again?
Is anybody familiar with the Senate bill trying to get through the Senate today at 11:30, 719A, and it's to take and lock up all the houseless people, man, or anybody else that they deem a threat to so-called society. They didn't run the festival parade down 82nd Avenue this year, and they're not running the hood to coast run through this section of town on the Pacific Crest corridor bike path. This will be the second year because they're saying all the houses crowd out here in southeast and northeast are a bunch of derelicts, and they don't deserve a right to life. You know, that's why they come up with all, you know, they call them homeless when in reality they're houseless, but they call them homeless so that, you know, when they set up their house, it's called recreational camping, and of course that's outside all their code structure. You know, everything's to fit within their code structure. But I just want to know if you heard about Senate Bill 719A. You can bring it up. You got to do it while you're on the call and read the summary for this call, because if it's here in Oregon, it's going to be rolling out clear across the country. If it's not only rolling out, you know, in Maine and going to meet there in Kansas, and then have the whole, you know, it's just an annex, in my opinion, from some aspects of the Patriot Act. But I don't know anything about the bill. I've only had the summary read to me by a couple of friends of mine over the cell device. So, and it was enough to alarm me to you know, share it here on this call this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a bill that Kate Brown and Jerry Brown from California have been pushing for the last 6 years. It's nothing new. So if they don't like who you are walking down the street, this is how they could kidnap you and throw you into jail because you farted or you smelt wrong. That's exactly what this bill is about. So in other words, this is
yes, and your only so-called defense is it's just the same as if you've been charged. You know, you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent.
This
using
is
their affidavit process.
Bible bill. Remember, this comes from King James Bible. This is the King James Bible bill. Okay, remember, if you don't like my religion, I can tell you to get the hell out of here. I can put you in jail because you don't like my religion. Exactly what this is. Okay, because I don't believe in the King James Bible. I sure don't believe in Christianity, because Christianity, if anybody knows the real history, if you weren't a Christian, you were murdered. You were decapitated. You were demembered because you weren't a Christian. That's the way Christians believe. You know, and so yes, this is a bill that has been going on for some time, and there are people who are well aware of knowing what's going on with this bill. I find out majority of Oregonians don't give a damn if they're raped, robbed, and pillaged. I've been experiencing that, trying to get that through people's heads, and nobody gives a damn. You know.
Well, the ones that live in the gated communities, they don't worry about it. That's right. But it's all of us in the communities that don't think we can fight City Hall that worried about it.
This bill
this is a chapter right out of Hitler's playbook.
Hello.
Nazis and the takeover of the Jews. They smell bad.
This is a bill derived after Richard Keenan. You know, what he did to Kate Brown. This is the point that people are not paying attention. They are doing this in all of the states are doing this too. They're saying that unless you have a home when they call martial law to enfact martial law, if you don't have a place to go to that's called your home resident, you'll end up in a FEMA camp. What all this is about.
Yes.
You know? And the point is getting people to care. I mean, I've got to read.
And the first thing it's going to do, it's going to cause them to grab the old gray hair types like Ed and the people Ed associates with on this call that teach all of us younger men what's really going on. They're going to get rid of you first because you go against the King James Version.
You're damn right. That's why they poisoned me. That's why I'm literally dying right now. I have that long, apparently. I live in reality, not fiction, folks. You know, I don't live in that fiction of fantasy. You know, so this is what they're doing. They're going after to shut all of us up. It's not just me, it's all of us. You have an opinion, you're not entitled to have an opinion.
Well, hey, for this call, you got to pull up the summary of the bill and read it, because it only take you 5 minutes to read the summary.
And I'm not going to do it because I've already spoke against the damn bill.
Okay. Well, maybe there's people on this call that aren't familiar.
Where are you speaking against the bill? Where's Richard speaking against the bill? Everybody that's on our email, how come they're not speaking against it? That's like none of them on the recall. When I put the recall out, nobody wanted to respond to that. Oh, we don't want to do that, Ed. Oh, my God, we don't want to do that. So, you know, I have a very hard time with people of compassion.
Well, a little compassion, you'll never be wrong.
Well, I've been wrong a lot with compassion, so that's where I come from. I mean, this is the one thing, you know, it's like I was talking to people today dealing with the hemp industry. And it's like, you know, do you guys realize that it's lawful to have this stuff, not legal? Do you guys want to look up the law and actually do something and protect it? Oh, my God, if I do that, I would be out of a business. I wouldn't have a job. Well, let me tell you one thing, folks. There's no thing in this country that guarantees you a job. That's fantasy fiction you are living. You have a right to feed yourself, build a home and stuff, but you have no rights to employment. You have the right to live off the land, and that's it what we have. Right to work stuff, that's a democracy point of view to put you in slavery. Go ahead, May. That's what I was getting ready to go mute the background noise because, you know, I appreciate if you're not speaking to mute yourself out of common courtesy. But, I mean, this is a thing that nobody wants to sit there and do something that worthwhile. Nobody wants to go stand up. You know, it's like everybody wondering why everybody's not at the Beaverton City Council meeting. Well, most people got run out of the City Council meeting because the other people, when they were speaking up, didn't stand by them. And that's the problem we actually have throughout the territories here.
Well, look what happened when I went to Washington, D.C. to speak at the hearing on the pipeline. It was supposed to be a public hearing, and we got there. People from all over the United States traveled thousands of miles to get there. We're in the hallway to the Senate office building, and suddenly we're told, no, we can't. It's a closed session.
Wow.
This is the kind of crap our public and elected officials are pulling on us all the time.
You see, I'd love to take a trip up the Capitol and go serve them some paperwork in record. But they went after all my transportation. They went after everybody around me. You know, this has been going on for 20 years. They've been doing this. Does anybody give a shit about me in Oregon? Hell no. But they always call me when they need their help or they need something done, but when it's time to stand up in the state, nobody wants to stand up. So it does get me and Dave frustrating because me and Dave do file the stuff we have filed. We're still filing instruments today. This is not a game we are dealing with. This is total reality of your lives and our lives. And that's the point I just don't get. How come people just don't sit there and sit down and talk to others about joining and getting some of this stuff done?
Well, David, in my opinion, or excuse me, Ed, this is Ronald. Thank you for allowing me to interject. In my opinion, all these calls are good for is awakening, awareness, comprehension, cognitive awareness, because they're monitored. We're not going to be able to do anything effectively. We're not going to be able to develop any strategy. We can only share enlightenment. Enlightenment. You do a good job of sharing enlightenment.
Ron, we have cases being won right now in court that we have done. So
so that's enlightenment. You're letting us know of these cases that you're winning. That's enlightenment.
Right.
But as far as being able to do anything, that's it's little bits at a time, and yeah, that's probably a major victory that win in court for you. But in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not that much of a deal. It's probably not that big of a deal.
Well, let me put it to you this: if you sit there and do nothing.
But I commend you all because I watched the movie Braveheart, and then my life is a depiction from the movie of Braveheart. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Ed.
Mm-hmm.
How coincidental is it for me to have my family house burnt while I was in prison with my daughter's house that was burnt in the city of Gladstone just a few years later? How coincidental do you think that is?
I can see how that could be a coincidental incident.
Yeah.
You bet.
If you read the Hebrew language, there is no word for coincidence.
But we know what they do.
And we've never done anything but share our own enlightenment.
Ron.
Yes.
That's the whole point. How come you're not educating your children on this stuff?
Hey, my friend, my children were alienated from me a long time ago because I didn't know that I was just a sperm donor on the plantation. And I signed a marriage license when I was 20 years of age. And then when they started throwing me in prison at 22, they convinced my family and her that I was never going to have anything other than a prison cell, and you need to get away from him now. And so she divorced me, and I ended up with every other weekend for my children. And when they got tired of that shit and got tired of listening to me, it was all good and fun when they were young. But when they got older and had the influences of the world, they didn't want much to do with me. And Mama wasn't making it very easy for them. With all the shit that she put into the game, it's dads against discrimination. I'm a dad against discrimination, and I met that organization from here to Maine, and I learned that my story wasn't alone. That there were thousands more just like me.
File the charges and quit whining. When are you going to file the criminal charges?
Brother, I'm not going to file any criminal charges because I'm trying to keep myself alive out here. I'm still under the bus with the weight of the Oregon Bar Association.
That's it. Well, they run for me every time I go near them.
Well, maybe I need it. Maybe that's what I need is a criminal complaint filed against them.
What helped if stood up and did something like that instead of doing this? Is like what I was trying to get Richard to do 3-4 years ago. But Richard wouldn't do a damn thing but sit on his butt and sit there and twiddle his mustache and thinking he was coming up with some other greater plan, which he never did.
Well, I have a question. If I decided tonight that I was going to do a criminal complaint, how long would it take me to get it in the hopper from start to finish?
File it, get it in.
Well, there should be some templates for me to go off of, though. I mean, it's just a complaint, the pleading, and,
Well,
how many of the facts.
No, we don't know your story. We don't know what happened to you. You have to write exactly what happened to you. Nobody knows to do something like that.
And fill it out. That's the complaint.
And you filed in the circuit court of any one of the counties? You filed in a district court?
You don't file it in a district court. Why are you going to a British court?
Well, what venue does it get filed in?
Yeah, Supreme Court, Superior Court.
Oh, okay, so in this case it'd be Oregon Supreme Court.
Actually, it should go federal, because if you go to Oregon, it's still a district court.
I agree. I'm aware of that understanding, that knowledge, yes. I agree with that.
What
go ahead, Dave.
What you have is a complaint form that you get from, I think it's mygov.gov/forms. You look up the complaint form and you get it and fill it out, and then you submit a copy of that to the DOJ and to your nearest court.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you keep a copy of yourself for yourself.
Well, of course. Okay, I'm just curious. That's enough out of me.
But see, we were unaware until a few months ago that they won't do anything unless you file a form with them. Letters you write and all this other crap that I've been doing for 10 years and 10,000 letters and emails and faxes and all this stuff have been for naught because they just throw them in a wastebasket. But once you put it on a form, somebody starts listening.
Well, then you take and modify the form too to meet your needs. I have a hard time putting in their bland, organic style documents, because they just don't meet the
affidavit of support stating.
What did you say, Ed? You broke up.
You write an affidavit of support of what you're speaking.
Okay. I copy.
And when you write that affidavit, you put claim number 1, claim number 2, claim number 3, etc., etc., etc. Because once you have a claim, then you're entitled to remedy, and then you put at the bottom of it, you put my remedy for all this, and you spell it out.
Right.
The court will look at you extremely different once they have a complaint form and they have your affidavit with claim on it. They have to rule on the claim and the remedy.
Great. And I muted you for a minute there because you had too much background going, Ron.
That's okay, David. I'm at the community center that takes care of us so-called houseless people, and I donate my time afterwards to help clean up. It's quite a place.
Yeah, your work is appreciated by a lot of people. that are unknown to
Well, I'm just grateful that I can do something besides whining all the time. Hey, and you know, this complaint that you speak of, it's still going before the bar. It's still going before the accredited.
Doesn't go in front of the bar. Who's telling you this stuff? Don't you know how to go through the right channels instead of the wrong channels?
Well, if you say the Supreme Court, those are still attorneys. They wear robes. They're members of the bar, the American Bar Association. Where can we go? Where, you know, we ain't got nowhere.
Oh, my.
What?
Why don't you read their civil procedure? They do things totally different.
Okay.
That's the reason why, what? We got two of them getting ready to resign because of what's going on. You know, and that's the whole point, is people need to start filing charges on these people. And instead of little boys.
We have some people who are now filing charges of treason against the judge.
Well, since you bring that up, couldn't that be done in every so-called state where there's a PERS account? Because all state employees, including the state judges and the county district attorneys, are all tied into the PERS, and PERS receives perks from the fee, fine, and levy that come out of the court process. So it's really like, isn't it a big conflict of interest?
Well, they're all the judges are traded on Dun & Bradstreet Wall Street, so that in itself is a conflict of interest. They hide their retirement funds in their retirement account, so they don't have to pay their corporate taxes. Yeah, I would say there's a few things. They're running a bond CUSIP and commodities fraud against everybody who enters their court for profiteering from public office. So, yeah, I would say there's some conflict of interest there.
Yeah. The whole thing's RICO.
Whenever you go
the whole thing.
Do not ever, when the judge asks you if you understand something, you do not. You ask the judge a question in return.
That's a fact. So, anyhow, I want to move on. I want to get over to, I don't think our other guy showed up yet. Mike doesn't look like he's in right now. So, you don't
show up.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Up your question. Well, what do you have to bring up an idea first?
It's Title 42 at 408A8.
Right. Yeah, that one. Basically, it goes into giving out your Social Security number to anything or anyone, any corporation, doesn't matter what it is no more than 5 years in federal prison and some sort of fine. And this is off of memory that I'm coming up with this. And in a short call that we did, it was a 2-minute long call, we covered how it's commodities fraud, and then everyone thinks, well, you need your Social Security number to apply for a job, or get a loan, or open a bank account, or whatever, etc., that you need to do with whatever excuse that they're coming up with at that time.
Well, you see, Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, and I forgot who else it was involved in this, the Department Department of Justice wrote a Homeland Security law that was against the law. Because if they're requiring you to give identity, such as your Social Security number on an application for employment, they themselves have forced you to break the law.
And not only that, is what they're doing is they're giving it to the IRS, and we've already covered earlier in the call, there's no such thing as income tax. So
right,
going into that structure, if they try to come up with the excuse, well, we use that for tax purposes, they basically admitted to you full on out Hardy that they're going to use your identity without your consent, because you don't know how they're doing it. You don't know how they send it to the IRS. They did not. Well, they may have gotten your written consent, but that was on false pretenses. But anyway, my point is, if they come up with the excuse that, hey, we give it to the IRS, well, basically they've admitted that they've committed, that they're going to commit identity theft on you. And I'm going to yield back to Dave or Ed.
You know, the Title 42 408A8 forces you to give your Social Security number up, and then that becomes identity theft because they use that information against you. The three credit bureaus are noted for demanding your Social Security number to run a background check on you. And then they take all that information and they turn it over to God knows who. 99% of the time, I would say right now even, today, with these credit bureaus knowing your Social Security number, it's known all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because these, if I remember right, the three credit bureaus are actually Swiss corporations.
Yep.
And if that's the case, wow, it is all over the world, because those are international bank accounts over there.
As far as I know.
You know the bankers couldn't keep their fingers off this.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the money.
Go ahead, Michelle.
As far as I know, David, I would believe that it is around all the world, just as you indicated.
Yeah. So knowing what I know about Social Security now being turned over to the Crown, what right does Social Security have to assign me a Social Security number?
Hmm.
I don't think they have any right, really.
Well, if from what I comprehend, all Social Security numbers come out of the Vatican.
Wow.
So does that mean the Pope claims he owns us all?
What he's trying to do under that Treaty of 1213 of the devil.
Treaty 1213 died with the king in 1215. I'm sorry.
That's in England, not the U.S.
I comprehend that. But it's still the same thing. It's a dead treaty.
Hmm.
When the Pope died, had no heirs and successors. What happened to the treaty? It died with him.
Right.
That's not hard to understand or comprehend, depending on which side of the ocean you're from.
That's like when people say the Constitution doesn't belong to us. Yes, it does. It's called a bloodline, folks.
Right.
Article 2.5 of the Constitution. Read it. It goes to the oath of office of President and what the qualifications are for becoming a candidate for the office. Bloodline American. It doesn't explain it to you any simpler.
Where is that specifically referenced? Is it in the preamble that you make these
told
quotes?
you. Article 1,
5 of the Constitution.
You said Article 1?
Article 2. 10.
Article 2.
Article 2.
Article 5.
It uses the word bloodline American? I've never read that.
It reads, oh man, let me see. Hold on. I'll see
What does the word native mean? Have you ever read the word native in a dictionary?
Repeat that, please, Ed.
Native. Have you ever read the word native in a dictionary?
Yes.
What does native mean?
Born right where I'm standing, native.
That's right. And by the Supreme Court in the Constitution, when it says native, then the Constitution in our structure, that's 5 or more generations. That means that you weren't born here. There's no such thing as an anchor baby.
Okay, but there's also a court case, too, that says that none of us were a party to the Constitution.
Were you a party of it? Was your bloodline a party of it?
Well, okay.
Read the decision on it.
When I can't even tell you who my grandfather was on my dad's side because I never even met my dad, I guess I can't tell you. Well, I can't say that I'm native to those dating back to 1795 Constitution or the Articles of Confederation in whatever year those were written.
That's the whole point.
I got my handbook out on Article 2.5. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible for the office of President. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. There's your bloodline right there. Natural-born citizen.
Okay, but was that citizen of a de jure time? Was it a de jure time going on? Because I sure would want to be a citizen of any qualification.
Did you
de facto?
Wait a minute. Reread it one more time and listen to the words. Don't let your imagination wander. Read it one more time, Dave.
Okay. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution.
What year was adoption?
At the time of this adoption.
What year was it, Dave?
Say it again, Ed.
What year was the adoption of the Constitution?
Hold on.
1789?
When it was ratified was 1778.
Signing the Constitution took place September the 17th, 1787. The preamble was before that, and that's what you're referring to, because that is our first Constitution.
Now, do you comprehend the year of this, Ron?
The actual signing of the United States was signed.
But there's still language in there that I don't like, and you know what language that is.
You can't interpret words. Attorney, do not.
Everybody done?
I'm still here. I'm listening.
We got it. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. So you want me to read it one more time for clarification?
Yeah, just to clarify it. I just wanted to clarify the year, so that way, people can comprehend what year this was. This was before the de facto was even tried to be employed. Go ahead, Dave.
Now, this was actually signed in Pennsylvania State House at Independence Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, September 17th, 1787. The preamble of the Constitution, which served as our basic Constitution, took place in 1776 and ratified 1778. But Article 2.5 of this Constitution No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of President, neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have obtained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States.
And the word person doesn't apply to me. I've never been a person, not on the day that I was born or today.
Well, let me explain this to you. They don't define person in the Constitution. They don't define natural-born citizen in the Constitution.
They did that in the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court did, but the Constitution didn't.
That's right. The Constitution did not. The Supreme Court stated, 1884, you can be born on this land, but does not mean you're an inhabitant of this soil. That was part of the 14th Amendment adoption.
Well,
go ahead, Michelle. What were you thinking?
The reason why I think it wasn't specified in the Constitution is because there was more than one document pertaining to the Constitution.
I think what they were referring to was the preamble to the Constitution.
Right. And then we had the Confederation, and I think in the Confederation papers, that's where I think it defined the difference between a citizen or a person. I might be wrong, but I believe that's where it defined it.
The Articles of Confederation.
And not to be difficult or obstinate, but I feel, based upon my really limited study of this topic, that if I have anything coming from that document, it would be through trust and the preamble. That's just my narrow scope of the topic from my own limited research.
Yeah, and I also believe that the reason why it isn't being specified in the document is because we, the people, wrote the document as to the Constitution. We were governed under the Constitution, so I think that's why it wasn't specified. Now, I could be wrong, but that's how I'm taking it.
Well, also, too, back then we had, they had British attorneys involved, too, that were fighting, trying to keep us as a British colony through administrative rules that people were not going by.
Well, one of the ways they could have clarified it, instead of using the name person, would have said, no man or woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they considered person as, man or woman, not a individual.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you on that note. That would make logical sense as far as I'm concerned.
A person didn't develop until the 14th Amendment when you read the preamble of that and when you read the court case.
If I may?
Yeah, that sounds like Santa.
No, well, it could be. But no, this is Steve Price in Arizona.
Oh, hey.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I just had a question. It's just something to think about. You say we're debating what is a person, and I'm reading here in the dictionary.com, and it said a person is a human being, whether an adult or a child. I think where you're getting your information is from probably Black's Law Dictionary, which is a misnomer because it doesn't define the law words. It defines legal words. So what my argument is on that is that they have taken the English language that we've used for God only knows how long, and they put a different meaning to it. They've made a legal changed to the word. But where did they get their authority? I never gave them mine. How did they get the authority to change the meaning of my words? They can go to hell.
And yet you're right, 90% of the words are from Black's Law Dictionary, and there are now, 11 volumes of Black's Law?
Yeah.
I think so. What is there, 9 or 10?
There's 11. They keep adding stuff to it or rechanging a different word through it.
Yeah, what they do is they write a new law dictionary every time they want to change the meaning of the word to screw us.
Exactly. And my point is they don't have any authority unless we give them that authority. And by us going by what they decided to do, we're actually giving them the authority. They have no authority but what we give them. And what we're doing, a lot of us, we're giving them that authority. We're playing their rules. I say to hell with them.
That's why I wrote Congress.
That one. Go ahead, Dave.
That's why I wrote Congress a letter, and I asked them that why the rules of the court, the rules of civil procedure, rules of criminal procedure, were done by the Bar Association or the American Bar Association, who are unregistered foreign agents tied to the City of London through the Inn of Court. So why are we having unregistered foreign agents write our rules of court if they're not British courts? Pseudo-corporate courts.
Well, not only that, if you read the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, it tells you who has the rights, and it doesn't say the corporation. It says we, the people, have all the rights. So they can't do anything without we give them permission. And my point is, we're spending too much time playing with their rules and giving them their position, giving them their credibility. You know, I think we maybe start out of thinking about saying to hell with them. They're not making our rules. We've got our own laws. We've got our own rules to live by, and we're not going to acknowledge their rules anymore.
I agree with you.
I agree.
The corporation, United States of America DBA Corporation, was never authorized by the Constitution. It's an act of treason.
Well, that's kind of my point. It's kind of like, and I hate to bring this up because I know I'm going to piss a bunch of people off, but it's like, say, the Mormon Church. They have authority. They always talk about, the authority, the church authorities. Well, how the hell did they get their authority? And what is an authority anyway? Authority is somebody that we independently, personally give that authority to. You see, the Mormons don't give a damn about the Pope or any of those people, and the Catholics don't give a damn about the Mormon hierarchy. They don't give them any credibility. If you're not a Mormon, you don't recognize it. So actually what it is that we give that to them. We make them authority because we listen to what they say, and we think that they're telling us what we need to know, whether we do or not. And that's kind of my point. It's not that they have the authority unless we give it to them, and that's what we're kind of doing. We're giving them their authority.
How can a church or a cult, as the Catholic is, how can those two claim that they are a form of government when that is specified in our Constitution, separation of church and state? Congress shall make no law relating to religion.
Well, what they're saying, I believe, in my opinion, is they're saying that we cannot.
Thereof.
Oh.
It says nothing about them having authority to take over the government in any way, shape, or form. We the people are the government.
True.
You're not allowed to touch it.
I mean, you can look just about any number of places, and it tells you that they're nothing more than just imposters pretending to be whoever they say they are, and that wouldn't make any difference. The president could get up there and make all the executive orders he wanted to, but if the people didn't pay him no mind, what good would it do? But the problem is people go along with it, you know. And if they say, "Well,
told about the 16th Amendment,
we're going to outlaw eggs," it's against the law to sell eggs. Well, if I've got eggs or my neighbor's got eggs and I want to buy eggs, what difference does it make what he says? The only problem is the people that were selling eggs, now they won't sell you an egg because they said they can't do it anymore. Well, that's giving them their authority. But if we told them, hey, you can go to hell, I'll buy or sell all the eggs I want to. I don't care what you say. Then what are they going to do? But the only thing it has to be, it has to be widespread. We have to do it.
Wait a minute, May. Let him finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you finish up, then Dave is going to finish up, and then we'll go to the May. But
okay,
right now, you...
Let me go ahead and yield, and let's see what David has to say.
Well, what I was going to tell the man, I said, look what happened in Prohibition. You can't buy beer. They bootlegged it. They broke all kinds of laws to get beer. It's like you said, the power of the people wins.
We just have to do it in unison. We have to do it together. People have to understand that they don't have any authority. And if we could do that, we could win this without ever firing a shot or doing anything.
We
could just make those people irrelevant.
It is our right as a people to alter and abolish any law that becomes destructive to this end.
That's exactly what I'm working on. All right, now, May, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, hanging in there. It's good to hear you. Yeah, me too.
So, but I want to get in where Dave was going with that. This is the point that, we don't want the churches involved. That's the biggest thing. We don't want churches involved. We don't want them to be participants in anything. If you want to go to church, go to church. It's bad enough our churches are doing the wrongdoing they're doing today. Because when these Senate bills, it's like you're getting told, Ron was bringing up a valid point. They're doing this across the country. Arresting people for being homeless. California wants to issue $3,000 tickets to anybody who's homeless. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. The churches are doing this, folks. Wake up. Your church you go to does this. They support this stuff. Oh, we can't have the riffraff around. Oh, the guy's got hair too long. He's a hippie. Churches are the worst thing on the planet. They judgmental everybody. They're mental. All the people that go to church, they're judgmental. They're mental. They have to judge everything. They can't logically think because they go back to a book that asks them permissions to think.
Yeah. Oh.
And we're not homeless, Ed. We're houseless. Houseless. Get it through your head. We're not homeless.
Well, whatever, houseless, because, the bottom line comes out with that one is that I wrote a homeless or houseless plan for the state of Oregon 20 years ago. 25 years ago, too. I wrote 2 of them. All right? And the public to be, they didn't want it to go through because if it went through, oh, my God, that would eliminate immigration in the state, number one. And if you were an immigrant, you couldn't get housing in the state unless you were lawful in this country.
Question
asked, Dave.
If HJR 192, Public Law 10, Chapter 48, 48 Stat 112, 7310, I forgot what those are, but anyway, had our government honored HJR 192 and the supplement public laws, would we have homeless people who could discharge the debt or for the rent? Absolutely not. Our government has forced homelessness and made people miserable for their own friggin' greed.
And profit.
Houselessness.
Okay. But it really upsets me about this thing. Congress, so that they could put another buck in their pocket, deliberately withheld information to cause people to act to their detriment, which is fraud. They need to go to jail.
That's a fact. And the only way they're going to go to jail is by you people endorsing our affidavits and we endorsing your affidavits are criminal, because now you have more than one witness that believes in what happened, and if people don't start waking up to the reality of how to do this circumstances, there ain't going to be no change. That's the whole point. Go ahead.
That's why petitions were mentioned in the Constitution for that reason, because everybody that would sign their name and you agree with that person as to what they're addressing in their petition, it has standing, and it even talks about that in the Constitution.
Michelle, that during the time when the Constitution was formed, they did not have 501c1s through 10. 501c3 is where you turn your church over to the Crown, which is the Secretary, the Pope, the Catholic Church.